1,500 people or so in an 1,800 room seat spread out in every possible way. We could probably all fit in these first 4 rows. We're comfortable. So anyway, welcome to the first of our spring staff meetings, and we want to use this time to just give you some updates on some things that are going on. As always, we will end with an opportunity for you to ask any questions that you might have burning on your minds that we might be able to address. Dr. Brower is out of the state. I think he's either in Florida or in transit between Florida and Washington, D.C. So he is traveling through the end of through next weekend. So let me just welcome us to the opening of the staff meeting, and I think our first person is going to be Jeff talking about staff handbook. So come on up, Jeff.
Good afternoon. You can tell everyone's excited to hear about the staff handbook. I always have the fun things to do this one. So we have a few actually HR-related updates to go through with you, and I'm going to start out by just giving you an overview of the staff handbook process. And we're on voice clicker today, so we can go to the next slide. There it is. That's our new handbook. No, go back one. Just leave it there. Our current practice, as many of you hopefully are aware, when we update policies and benefits, we try to work hard to communicate those out to you and then update the handbook as appropriate. It has been several years since we've actually gone through a complete overview of the handbook process, so we decided as an HR team it was time to take that project on last year. So in early 2018, we started this process with a couple of clear goals in mind. We wanted to make sure we had a clear document that had relevant information for you, to look at changes that were needed, and of course to make sure all of our compliance requirements were set. So we started early last year with the HR team, kind of starting that process, working through several meetings where we looked kind of page by page through the handbook. And to make those changes, several months in that process, we had a working draft then that we finished. We took that on to a full legal review. We then met with the cabinet to talk about a summary of the changes, and I'm happy to say today the handbook is done. The changes are approved and is ready to share with all the staff members. Applause. So, when introducing a new handbook, one of the first questions that typically comes up is, okay, what does this mean? Is this a major revision? Are we looking at major changes to our employment policies and process? And I will say the short answer to that is no. We're not classifying this as a major revision to the handbook. It's really more focused changes in specific areas where we needed to bring more guidance, more clarity, make the document easier to understand, even shorten it in some ways, and then some additional compliance pieces that we added in there. So not a major overhaul to the document. But I will share one change with you today. You might have saw it there, but pretend you didn't. One of the things in my prior experience, it's always important when you're updating a handbook is what is the new cover going to look like? You've got to have an attractive, welcoming cover. So that is the one change I'm going to share with you today. I'm sure you're all wondering about that. Even if you're not, let's go to the next slide. Let's give it a shot here. There it is. So this is the cover of the new handbook. It doesn't just make you want to open this document up and see all the good HR information and policies that are there. Very exciting stuff. Thanks to the marketing team that helped us, not only with the cover design, but other kind of design elements of the handbook. I think it turned out really well. And let's go to the next slide, last slide on the staff handbook, hopefully. Okay, I want to share with you the timeline. We are going to give you more than just the cover, I promise, it's coming. So the next steps will be a email that's going to come out tomorrow or Thursday at the latest with an update for everyone that couldn't attend today, and then a summary of changes to the document. It's kind of a one-page snapshot of what we would say are more material changes to the staff handbook. So that would be a good place for you to start to see what things were changing in the handbook. And you'll see, hopefully, as you look at that document and then see the entire staff handbook, it reinforces what I mentioned. This is not an overhaul, but there are some targeted changes there that you want to be aware of. Then the next step will be, then how do we get the handbook out to everyone and get them to acknowledge it? We've come up with, I think, a pretty streamlined process in Workday where hopefully Thursday morning, all of you will get a Workday inbox task, and it will look like this. There'll be a PDF link to the staff handbook. There'll be then this opportunity for you to check off that you agree that you received the handbook and it's your responsibility to read through it, get familiar with it, click that, and then that fulfills your responsibility. You'll get off the list of getting HR reminders and be able to go from there. I'll end by saying that I'm not going to pretend that the HR staff handbook is the most exciting thing to sit and read and go through unless you're in HR, then it's very exciting. But I would definitely, in all seriousness, encourage you to spend some time in that document, go through it. It is a valuable resource for you to learn about information, get familiar with things. Maybe you haven't looked in the handbook for years. This is your opportunity to go through that document. If you have any questions, you can follow up with us. Reach out to Catherine. She really enjoys talking about the staff handbook. She'd be glad to get your questions and let us know if you have any additional feedback on it. So that's it for the staff handbook. With that, I will welcome up Samara, who is going to give us an update on open enrollment and wellness.
So email's going to come out next week. I thought it would be confusing if I sent it this week to say this. But we'll be moving Webinar Week happens to the week right after fall break. The spring one will stay the same because of all the February Writer Symposium stuff that's happening there. But it really felt like for both students, faculty, and staff that Renewal Week in the fall comes too early. Like we're not ready for Renewal Week. Like it feels like we almost just arrived. And so we've moved that and hope that that gives us time for us to really be desiring a space of renewal and have it happen at a time when midterms are done and new quads are happening and all that kind of stuff. So again, I encourage you to participate this week. If you can't, to be praying for the students and staff and faculty can come to those services, that God would be at work in our lives and through our speaker and the anointing preaching that He will bring to us. Thanks.
Go to the next slide, please. And the next slide. All right. I wanted to talk just a little bit about some restructuring that we're doing in college extended learning. Cabinet, starting this summer, was trying to think about how can we best organize all of the things that are going on in our graduate and college extended learning area, because it's the one area of growth that we have an opportunity to do. So how can we make sure that communication is going well in that, and that all of our processes are working well together? And so we're considering a variety of models, a variety of options for how to do that, and we ended up hiring a consultant, Thomas McMillan, to come in and take a look at our overall structure and process and make some recommendations on how to best move forward. It's not uncommon at other universities to have that as a totally separate entity, or to have a vice president that is responsible for just simply doing that sort of a thing. And so we wanted to kind of see what would be best for our particular situation, and came back with recommendations to move it to kind of a provost model. For those of you who don't know what that is, I am a provost. I'm still not sure what exactly that is. I am a provost, and typically a provost model has the provost overseeing everything that has to do with academics, and then something else. That something else can be a whole variety of things. The extreme is that some institutions it's the kind of the on-campus president, while the president is out doing fundraising and doing all sorts of other things. They're kind of the chief operations officer of the university. Two, they might just have athletics reporting to them or something along those lines. And so while I've had a title provost ever since I became provost, we haven't really had a provost model. So you can see my confusion. The recommendation was to actually take graduate and adult enrollment, graduate and adult student retention, and then the academic side of that, which already reported to me, and form that as one team that would all then report out through me. The benefits of that is, one, it signals our intention to not actually have a shift towards a separate entity, but this is Point Loma. It's Point Loma extended in the adult marketplace. And so wanting to signal that intentionally, in the past, those three areas have reported at one point up through 3 different vice provosts, at another point up through 2, and now it's going to report up through me. So the hope is that we will be able to work together as one team that will help facilitate communication and collaboration in that group. I'm excited to take on that particular challenge and getting to know names and faces of additional 50 or so staff members who are part of that are integral and key for making that successful. So that is the shift that we have made in the direction that we're going. Currently we have 2 of those 3 positions, so each is going to be led by each of those 3 areas. Student retention and success is going to be led by Cindy Chapel. The enrollment side is going to enrollment and 2 of those 3 key positions, we're actually in the process of either actively searching and doing a launch a search. And so, in the meantime, we have a consultant that helped us, Thomas McMillan, is also serving as the interim enrollment VP. And so he's helping us get everything together so that when these new people come on board, we are operating in an efficient manner. So that's the update on graduate and CDL.
Everybody, my name is Jeff. I've had a chance to meet you. I oversee university services, and I do bear a freakish resemblance to Gary. His wife made that mistake one time at a meeting here on campus. She tried, and he was like, honey, I need to. And I was like, she's, oh my God. Just a quick unplanned comment, which is to say this is my second one of these since stepping into this role. And with university services covering so many things across campus, I have to call in a lot of favors with many of you. I am learning a lot, and I just want to say thanks. As I have learned about you and your work, I'm just really impressed with you and the way you do what you do. Most of it unseen by many. But as one who benefits from it really every day, I just wanted to say thanks. I'm very, very impressed and very grateful. So, thank you. A quick update on parking. Everybody's favorite topic. We're putting in parking meters across campus. Parking. I want to talk to you a little bit about the lot that we have down by athletics where the temporary trailers have been. Maria's going to come up a little bit and tell you about the transition back into floor science. But those trailers that have been down in that lot, we are removing those this week. And so by the end of the week, that lot will be cleared. So, video those. We're going to do a phase 2 on that. If you have been down there, you know that there is kind of outlining that lot is some equipment and there's a Connex box and some fencing. We're going to go ahead and pull all of that out as well, relocate where that work is taking place. And so we're actually going to be able to free up almost that entire lot plus some. Ace Parking, who works with us here on our staff parking, is going to come in and do a consult with us to see how we can maximize the spaces in that lot. So we should actually see an increase in parking spaces coming out of that, which is good news. You probably are aware we have staff parking in effect right now here at the lot behind First Church, up at Fermanian, and also in this lot right here where the parking structure is. We've been able to offset and gain actually a few spots, even with that lot being offline, and so with that lot going back offline, we, for now, are going to keep those 3 staff parking services in effect and assess the number of spaces we pick up and see if possibly we don't need to keep all 3 of those online. So we will wait and see on that and see how it goes. So you should see that lot clearing up this week. Next slide, yeah. This comes out of a lot of questions, both that I had coming into this job, as well as a lot of questions that you have. And it's kind of harder to read than I would have preferred, but I can just kind of fast forward you over here. What we are trying to get together by this summer is what is referred to as a university master plan for facilities. I have found you all and many others to have really good ideas and really big problems too. You all have a lot of problems with your facilities. It's not, but we do have some problems around here, right? Like there's some offices that are way out of date. There's some spaces that don't make sense. There's some carpet that's worn out. There's some buildings that need to be remodeled. There's not been a real intentional effort at how we develop kind of the queue for that, right? So we know we've got a certain amount of money And we got buildings that need to be done and projects that need to be done. But what we don't have is a kind of a 10 to 15 year plan on this is what it looks like we're going to do over the next 10 to 15 years. That's happened, I think, as kind of a good faith effort. But what we're trying to do is to kind of take all of this into account and to develop that. And so I have sought input from many of you. And you're seeing these things all kind of coming together. So the boxes over on the left are some things that we have. That big box in the middle, the list there, is really kind of forces that act on us. That's kind of the world that we swim in around here. And so we're trying to develop something that responds to that. That plan, that master plan for facilities, it will not be set in stone. If you can read there, you'll see that it says that it's adaptive, innovative, and multi-site. We are Point Loma Nazarene University, but we are taking place on places other than this campus, right? And so we wanted to take that into account as well. So if you have thoughts on that, ideas, if we've not had a chance to talk about stuff in your area that needs to get some attention, let me know that and we'll take a look at that. It always takes a little bit longer than I would prefer. I know you probably feel that way as well. But I think with this, we can begin to really kind of get that thing worked out and kind of begin to see how that's all going to come together. So, I'll tell you what, one of the people that I have really, really appreciated working with over these last few months has been Maria Zach. She stepped into a true hornet's nest on this science project and was admirable in not only the work she did, but the way she conducted herself. We were in some tough meetings together, and I was just impressed. And so she's going to come up and talk to us about that building. So, Maria.
All right, next slide. Woo, next slide. All right, so let me tell you just a couple of quick facts about this project. I have to tell you that the first meeting that I sat in to discuss working on Rohr Science was in the fall of 1998. Okay, so I've been at this party, Carrie and I have been at this party for over 20 years. What I will say though is our vision was too small in 1998. So if we'd actually done what we thought we were going to do, we would have grown out of it almost instantly. So it's one of those, it's been a very long journey, but sort of God knows. And that what we thought we needed to do at the time really wasn't the right thing to do. We would have had to do it again. So I think what we have now in the overall sort of science complex is something that is going to serve us well into the future. So a couple of other fun facts. It's the third largest construction project in Point Loma's history. It enhances a lot of what we can do with students. We had a lot of sort of cobbled together places to work with students, and the building was really designed with thinking about how to work with students. It does keep all of the science department offices together still in one building, but everything else in the building pretty much is laboratories that are connected to my two departments, so physics, engineering, chemistry kinds of labs. There is a biology lab in the basement, and there are 2 kinesiology labs on the first floor. Thanks to those of you who have helped me with the great joy of the cadaver lab. A few out here have gotten to help me move bodies. 1, 2, 3 separate occasions you've gotten to move bodies. The last one, for anybody who participated, you can ask them for some of the stories of the fact that when we went to put the cadaver boxes in the room, we realized we had to take the cadavers out of the cadaver boxes to get them back in. So we had some real heroes in campus facilities who helped us get those boxes back in the room. And I promise, guys, we're never moving them out of that room. They're just staying there. All right, so I put up a couple of pictures. You've seen some of the construction, so if you can just like flip through the next picture. So that's outside, the whole outside of it's been redone, and we had to preserve the mid-century modern look, but there's sort of all new windows. We're really excited, no more leaking windows. We actually have heat that works and air conditioning. So this is a pretty big thing for us. Next slide. Look at that pretty office with those really ugly lights, which are now gone. For me, this is something that really excites me. There's electricity and data in the floor of all of the teaching spaces, which is something that we haven't had in that building. Next slide. Look at that, pretty office. It's all new. Next slide. Computer lab. So a bunch of people have asked me this, so the short answer to the question is what's left from the old Roar? The load-bearing walls, the floors, the elevator shaft, the boxcar for the elevator, and the piston under it. That's all that's left. Everything else is brand new. Okay, and for those of you who spent time in the building, there are women's and men's restrooms on every single floor. All right, next slide. Look at that. It doesn't, isn't very exciting until you know what we've lived with. All right, next slide. Some laboratory space, and I think that's my last one. Oh, again, if you know the building, elevator now runs with a button rather than a key. So, another sort of modern attribute we've added to the building, and I think that's the last slide. Yes. Okay, so come and see. The quickest way to come and see is walk over there right now. The building's unlocked if you want to just kind of poke around and take a look. And then we're going to do some kind of dedication for the building on the 1st of March when the board is here. A million of you, lots and lots and lots of you contributed in lots of different ways to this project, and I'm really grateful. This was crazy. This was a 9-10 month remodel project that somehow got done in 7. And that's really kind of miraculous. So it's been really fun, it's been really crazy, and the end result is really terrific. So come and see.
So before we all run over and take a look at the new space, I wanted to give opportunity to see if there's any questions that you might have before we dismiss. I see a hand way back there.
Hi. So there's a free day on March the 15th, the day of the Liberty Walk. Is there going to be a makeup day for the SFS, Draper, admissions people to do the walk?
HR? All right, makeup walk. I'm makeup walking, yes.
On the new science, the new remodeled science building, the exterior stairways, are they going to get repaired?
Over time, they will, yes. I think there's...
This summer.
This summer. I heard that in stereo. This summer. Yeah. Other questions? I'm blinded by the light, so I can't tell. Okay, no other questions. All hearts and minds are clear, as they used to say. Just before we dismiss and go over to have the opportunity to go over and look at Roar, if you're able to do that. One of the things that I know that you intuitively do, and I talk about this on with faculty and on the academic side quite a bit, is the university mission, where you know, a vital Christian community, where minds are engaged and challenged, where character is modeled and formed, and service becomes an expression of faith. I think sometimes we can just see that as a mission, and it's this thing out there, and someone else really deals with that. I think the thing that makes Point Loma special is that we each have the ability to model and embody that mission in the work that we do. You think minds engaged in challenge, well, that has to happen in the classroom. No, it doesn't. That can happen anywhere. Character modeled and formed, that's a mentoring, modeling the way in which you carry yourself in the workplace. And service becomes an expression of faith, is not just about helping students see how they can serve as an expression of faith, but it's how we actually bring our own service to this place as an expression of our faith and an act of worship. And so if you've never thought of it that way, I encourage you to think about that a little bit and say, how is it that I embody that mission in the work that I do? I encourage
Our faculty think about this all the time, and one of the things that's really clear is that it's not a one-size-fit-all approach. On the faculty side, it's not everybody leads a devotion around X, Y, or Z, and we do that, but everyone has a way in which they embody the mission of this place in the work that they do. And each of you have a way of doing that as well. And so I encourage you, if you haven't thought about it that way, to think about our mission. Go pull that thing, dust it off, or look at it on the web and say, how is it that I can embody the mission of this place in the work that I do? Because you guys have a huge impact, as Jeff mentioned, on the success of this place. And oftentimes it goes unnoticed or it's behind the scenes. But without the entire community, this place is not the same place, and it doesn't work. And so we need everybody together that's committed to the mission of the place and committed to embodying the mission in the work that they do. And that is, I think, what makes Point Loma Nazarene University a special place to work, and a special place to rub shoulders along friends and colleagues that we have the privilege of coming alongside and working with. So thank you so much for all that you do. And I look forward to hearing ways in which you feel that you are embodying the mission in this place. I see it all the time in the way that you do, so it's probably intuitive, but it's fun to think about it intentionally. So thank you for all that you do, and thank you for your time today. And the next thing you have an opportunity to do is go visit Rohr Science if you want, or if you have other things to do, you can do that as well. But thanks for being here.